As the episode begins, we see Twilight practicing some new magic, which Spike is rather happy about since he believes that having a mustache will impress Rarity. It's interesting to see this early version of Spike knowing how far he will come in future seasons, and his fascination with Rarity is still an interesting quirk to his character. Spike also mentions that Twilight is able to do 25 different kinds of magic tricks now. This is apparently very rare, as most unicorns know only a few spells like levitation and illumination, and perhaps another spell that has to do with their cutie mark. And since Twilight's special talent is magic, she is able to go far beyond learning just a few spells. But even with all of her gifts, Twilight still remains humble and doesn't want to draw attention to herself. And Spike believes that there isn't any other unicorn in all of Equestria that knows as much about magic as Twilight. Enter Snips and Snails, who are on their way to see the new unicorn in town. And they hear that she has greater magical ability than any other unicorn ever, which immediately makes Twilight seem worried, until Spike reaffirms his belief in Twilight. They all go to see the commotion in the middle of town, and we get our first look at the Great and Powerful Trixie. And almost immediately, both Rarity and Applejack are unimpressed and even seem a little annoyed by Trixie. This kind of behavior seems odd, and even a bit out of character for both of them. It seems a bit quick for them to make all these assumptions about Trixie. Although, perhaps they had already heard about Trixie's boastful behavior even before watching her show. I don't find it too hard to believe that with a traveling performer, word gets around about the kind of show they put on. At least with Rainbow Dash, it seems quite in character for her to want to show off her talents and even show up Trixie. And with Rarity, I suppose I can understand her wanting to show how bringing beauty is something more useful than Trixie's stage magic. Though it becomes rather difficult to explain Applejack's behavior. Could it be that she is really so prideful that she just can't turn down a challenge? I suppose it's possible, given the behavior that we've seen in Applebuck season, but it still seems odd that Applejack would really want to show up Trixie here. Still, these elements of the story do show us just how versatile Trixie is with her magic. She certainly does seem to be more skilled than the standard unicorn. Aside from some impressive levitation, she is also able to lift other ponies off the ground and even creates a storm cloud that shoots a bit of lightning at Rainbow. And here I thought that only Pegasi could create weather. It quickly becomes apparent that Twilight is feeling rather unsure about herself when she hears her friends talk about Trixie. And given their behavior, it is completely understandable why Twilight wouldn't want to display her own magical talents. It is interesting to see that Trixie still keeps up the stage persona even after the show is over. But I'm really put off by Snips and Snails here. Did the writers really not have any better ideas on what to do with these characters? Are they ever going to be anything more than just dim-witted bumbling minions? Spike is still trying to do his utmost on convincing others that Twilight is the most talented unicorn in all of Ponyville. And considering the fact that he has been by her side for all his life, it is easy to understand why. Twilight spends so much of her time improving upon her abilities, and Spike has seen just how far she has come. So when Snips and Snails go into the Everfree Forest in the hopes of finding an Ursa Major? My goodness, this is such an extraordinarily bad idea. So when they come running back into town with the Ursa in hot pursuit, they go straight to Trixie's wagon. And of course, Trixie is appalled that they had intentionally brought an Ursa to town. But even with this seemingly hopeless situation in front of her, Trixie is still trying to do her utmost to subdue the creature. Once again creating a storm cloud that produces lightning. I didn't know that unicorns could even do that. Once the facade is uncovered though, Trixie starts talking normally. No longer calling herself the Great and Powerful. No longer talking down to others. And when Twilight realizes that she is the only one capable of stopping the Ursa, she only shows a very brief moment of hesitation, but goes right up to the roaring Ursa. I gotta say, that takes a lot of courage. And we get some very impressive multitasking levitation magic from Twilight. She was certainly pushing herself in order to pull off all this spell work, but I have to wonder just how much more she was capable of even at this early stage of the show. And after the Ursa has been returned to its cave and everyone starts cheering for her, Twilight is actually apologizing to everyone. even to the point of saying, "Please don't hate me." She really thought that by displaying such powerful magic that she would be ostracized by her friends. So that just makes it all the more impressive knowing that Twilight defeated the Ursa believing that she would be rejected by everyone for it. It's nice to see that the writers made Twilight into such an inspiring example even so early on in the series. And even after that very impressive display, we see that Trixie is still trying to hold on to what little reputation that she has left. I have to wonder why Trixie feels the need to keep on performing even after being found out as a fraud. Is this just part of her personality? Or is there something deeper going on here? Could there be something that happened to Trixie that caused her to have this need to be the best? I think Trixie might have an inferiority complex, where she feels driven, even compelled to prove that she is good enough. And in her mind, being less than the best is not good enough. Though she does go about proving herself in many of the wrong ways, she also shows what one can accomplish when one doesn't abandon herself to discouragement. So though I disagree with her methods, I can certainly respect her tenacity and determination. And then we come back to Snips and Snails. Considering the fact that they came up with the extraordinarily bad idea of bringing an Ursa into Ponyville, it would have been completely understandable for Twilight to punish them harshly for it. But there is something here that says a lot about Twilight's character. Having been mentored by Princess Celestia, I am sure that Twilight would have been taught a great deal about justice and mercy. It is apparent that both Snips and Snails believe that they deserve any amount of punishment that Twilight would choose. But all she does is have them clean up the mess that the Ursa had caused and then give them mustaches. This certainly seems rather lenient considering the danger they brought to Ponyville. But looking at all the other appearances of Snips and Snails, they really don't do anything quite that extraordinarily foolish again. So it is apparent that they learned their lesson from the experience. And despite the fact that Twilight really could have given them a far greater punishment, she made the choice to show them a little mercy, and it ended up turning out to be a good choice. Though many others may believe that Snips and Snails should have been given a harsher punishment here, I actually think that Twilight shows her wisdom in the decision that she made. Overall, I did enjoy watching Boastbusters again. Like many other episodes, there is always something new that I notice about it that gives me a greater appreciation for MLP. Trixie still has some enjoyable over-the-top moments in her performing, and her character shows a lot of potential for growth, which could make for some interesting stories. What do you think about Boastbusters? What are the strengths and weaknesses in this episode? Do you think that Trixie should be making another return in future seasons? I would like to hear your thoughts about Boastbusters and whether there is anything about this episode that you hadn't noticed before. I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.